So we're slightly over time, what we promised for 10:30, but I'd like to keep the floor open to anybody that would like to report in. Um, let's see, we have Adrian, welcome, and we have Troy, welcome to you. Ken is joining us. I'd like to give him for sure a chance to talk about the satellite receiver side, anything that he has to report there. And I see Rick is here too. So if anyone needs to drop out, and that is totally okay. But I'll keep the floor open for everybody to come in with the comments and ask questions and share things. So let's go to Ken, just in case he has some time constraints, because I know he's joining us. I think you're joining us from work, aren't you, Ken?
That's right. Yep. Sorry, haven't got anything really to report. I had one interesting. Somebody asked me. They were just general solicitation at work. They were asking, does anybody know how to do MATLAB using MATLAB for HDL generation? So I was able to say yes. I took a course on Simulink. Haven't really used it in 2 years, but at least I was able to raise my hand. So
Well,
it's a
good.
call back to that course that you offered. It was almost 2 years ago,
Yeah.
just this week. So that was a good course. So um, just noting that in passing here, but yeah, I'll try and make more of these, even though they're in the middle of my workday. So
Yeah, well, we
thanks.
appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a hassle to drop out of work and tune in, and so we really appreciate your time and energy.
Okay, go back on mute.
Okay, all right. Anyone else with the reports, questions, comments? Rick, you got anything?
No, nothing special. I was away for a week, so I'm just catching up.
Very good. I think you were at a particular institution for a week, though.
Oh, yes, a lot of fun. MIT Haystack Observatory, where I was teaching at the every other year technical operation workshop. We had 70 people attend from 30 countries. So it was a very enjoyable event.
Wow, fantastic. Are you going to write up an article about it, or is there a report out there about the workshop?
Well, the presentation I made is up on my Shadow website, along with pictures that I took. I took quite a few pictures this time um, on gpstime.com under publications.
Okay, very good. Yeah, if you want to send the link in, then we can include that in today's recording.
Sure.
Another big workshop that I know about, Mikio Muri from JAMSAT traveled along with some other volunteers from JAMSAT to Cambodia and did a extensive workshop for the students of a university in Cambodia. They're engineering um, students, and this was extremely well attended. Mikio did 12 lectures about operations, digital space communications, and walked the students through using QO 100. And the write-up is fantastic. This was a huge amount of effort to get this to happen. A big step forward for amateur digital satellite communications. And big thank you to JAMSAT for making sure that an English version of the report and the slide deck is out there. Because otherwise it would be a little difficult to read it in Japanese for most of us. So that's a huge step forward, and they're looking at doing that again in the future. Something that I was not aware of is that a lot of Asian and South Asian countries completely restrict satellite communications for amateurs, that you cannot use any frequency for satellite communications. It has to be negotiated carefully and set up in advance in order to have students and operators use these resources. So something that we might take for granted here, being able to use our microwave frequencies and VHF frequencies for international amateur satellite contacts. That's not the case everywhere. So big shout out to JAMSAT for putting things forward in this area and for highlighting microwave use of space. And so welcome to Adrian. Troy, would you like to have the floor and tell us how things are going? If you have any questions for us or you need anything.
There. That's actually kind of I was just kind of seeing.
Oh, I didn't quite make that out. Troy, I think you asked a question.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that like I was just this sucks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Adrian, you have the floor.
Oh gosh, I wish I had something to contribute. Um, I'm basically listening in. I'm definitely a very neophyte in terms of digital communications. And well, the only thing I basically have been working on lately, and kind of my more recent newfound hobby, which is not necessarily directly amateur ham radio sort of related, but that would be the radio astronomy and trying to set up very basic hydrogen line reception from my QTH here at home. And unfortunately, I started doing some kind of a local survey. I know, no, not trying to pick up hydrogen line, but just kind of tuning the sort of the 21 centimeter 1420 frequency, just to see what kind of the spectrum locally looked like. And I'm situated here in San Diego also, and I'm very close to Miramar Air Base. And so I was using just a very simple. I was running a simple handheld log periodic, one of these small printed circuit board antennas, and just kind of trying to scan around to see what kind of RFI I had locally. And it seems like a lot of it came from the direction of Miramar, the local military air base here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was having all kinds of spikes and digital stuff and whatever just smearing out around the 1420 band there. And so anyway, I was just trying to kind of trying to get a view of what to expect if I tried to set up. I'm trying to work with a kind of a smallish parabolic dish. One of the I'm a member at SARA also, and the Deep Space Exploration Society. I've joined those lately because I'm very interested in the radio astronomy aspect of radio. And one of there's an English guy that's pretty highly involved in SARA that sort of discovered one of these solar cooker antennas or solar cooker dishes that he sort of repurposed for it makes a fairly decent parabolic. It's like about a slightly more than 1.2 or 4 meter. I forget exactly the dimensions. So I purchased one of these. They're very inexpensive, like about $70 or $80 when I got it off of eBay, and trying to turn that into a small parabolic dish for the 1420 reception. And so that's kind of the gear I'm trying to set up for doing this kind of hydrogen line sort of basic radio astronomy reception. So in leading up to that, I decided, well, let me look at the spectrum in this area and see what it looked like. I was kind of shocked. So between what possible, I'm surrounded with digital towers and then the stuff that kind of points out to Miramar. I'm kind of questioning whether I'll ever be able to do anything in terms of the 21 centimeter hydrogen line. So that's my mundane sort of not non-digital kind of aspect of my problems here is kind of what I've been trying to kind of look at and see what I might be able to do in order to avoid some of these problems. But anyway, that's what I've been up to lately. So and I was just listening and fascinated by the work that's being done here. Only understanding maybe 5% of it, but that's the whole fun of it. Trying to learn something new. Anyway, that's all I've got. So great. Thanks a lot.
Well, we benefit greatly from your attendance, and hopefully we can expand the understanding of what we're doing, out to near 100%. So anything that's confusing or that we could explain better, just let us know, and we will do our very best. What you're tackling with your work for radio astronomy is super like important. Like you got to know your radio environment before you start making any experiments. Um, that's real stuff right there. And you live, well, I'm here in San Diego too, and so is Paul. And I think Matthew and Pete are both familiar with San Diego. And it's a challenging radio environment. So you've got your work cut out for you, and it's possible. But you're getting right in on the deep end of mitigating and understanding the environment and the limitations for the things like minimum discernible signal and stuff like that. So what an adventure. Uh, and yeah, there's some really interesting stuff out there, especially if you kind of point it towards the naval type stuff too. If you ever go a little bit towards the coast, and there's some really interesting things going on. So looking forward to your further adventures, and both Sarah and DSES are great groups to be part of. So anything that we can do to help support, and I, uh, you know, uh, if anybody has any advice about it, then we'll do our very best to get you in touch, and good luck in this adventure, because it is certainly an adventure in these frequencies and that microwave.
Well, one of the things that was suggested to me is that, of course, I was using one of these fairly broadband. It's a log periodic type little printed circuit board antenna, and so one of the things suggested to me was that perhaps that was too broadband to sort of pick up various frequencies. Even though, of course, the SDR, the little SDR plus SDR receiver that I'm using. Of course, that narrows in on the frequency, but still, the stuff coming into the front end there is probably maybe a little bit too broad
Right.
from the perspective of the output from the antenna. So one of the things suggested to me was perhaps then moving to perhaps a more frequency specific antenna that might help with some of the I don't know if it's front end overloading or whatever's happening, but so anyway, that was a suggestion already made to me that I should maybe try the same sort of survey or experiment to see what the environment is with something that's a little bit sharper tuned. And I just recently acquired one of these fairly relatively inexpensive nano VNAs that might help in trying to tune up an antenna that's peaked out at the 1420 megahertz rather than the log periodic. I was using something like it's supposed to be from 900 megahertz to like close to 2 gigs or something. So it has a lot of room there to pick up a lot of the extra RF. So that might be something that might help in terms of the RFI. But anyway, that's what the ongoing process is taking me to. But
Right on.
thanks. Yeah, I'll definitely tune in and chirp up if I have any other questions. But in any case, yeah, it's fascinating work. I'm really excited about possibly the future in terms of going digital over analog, and gosh, being able to that might even avoid some of the interference problems in communications and whatnot. And always been interested in EME, but there's no way I have the capability to do that other than just kind of listening on people that are doing the moon bounce. And of course, gosh, the EVE stuff that was attempted here just recently. It's just totally mind-boggling that ham radio was able to, even with the significantly large antennas like the SES group they have, but being able to reach out and touch Venus with a radio wave and bounce it back and not being a Arecibo or something, may it rest in peace. That's just really fascinates me. But in any case, yeah, it's a great group that tunes in here. So I definitely benefit from listening in. Anyway, great.
Awesome.
Got a couple of items.
Go ahead.
Okay. First, the thing that's at the top of my mind right now is from Adrian's interference problem. You might want to consider spatial selectivity as well. If you have a small dish with a pretty narrow beam and really good side lobe projections, then if you point it up at the sky, you won't get much in the way of terrestrial interference from Miramar. That might be even more important than frequency selectivity for your purposes. But what I really wanted to say was back in the conversation between Michelle and Matthew, we talked about possibility of running Opus uh, in the Zinc, and I checked, and the build we're using does not have the Opus library physically in it. I don't know if it's a matter of simply turning it on as a switch in the build, or if we have to build it independently. I did find some information that suggests that it should be possible, at least to build it for that configuration of ARM. It's an ARM 7L, I believe, and an ARM 7 is one of the supported processors for Opus with neon functions, which I believe this 7L does have. So we should try that. First of all, see if the build system can just do it for us, and if not, then cross compile a version library and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, it should be a menu config, and it should be a package that goes along with the rest of it. And we'll move to trying that. Thank you very much for checking. Did not get to the lab to do that. And yeah, as soon as we get that library, I think that the application layer stuff is relatively straightforward, and we'll see if we can fit it all in there. So it might be this week, but I think it's more realistically next week.
The other issue to think about a little bit with respect to running the vocoder on the Pluto is that Pluto doesn't really have audio I/O either.
Right.
So it would have to get those bits in through one of the existing interfaces, which there's really only one, which is the USB interface,
Yeah.
which can be treated is busy being an Ethernet interface. So maybe bring it in as an Ethernet
Oh.
stream.
Okay. Yeah, I think we got lots to talk about and try. I think it's probably safe to say that tackling the voice first is a good idea. You know, you know, getting live voice over the channel would be the right place to tackle next. And
Yeah, I think that's the hard part, the interesting part,
yeah.
since it's got
Yeah.
more subject to real-time constraints.
I was going to say it's more interesting, but it might be easier to get Ethernet over first as if we just wanted a proof of concept. But I mean, yeah, because getting the live Opus and everything up and running. Certainly, if you want to do a hardware vocoder, that would be some effort to get that up and running.
And you still have to get the audio in and out.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Okay. That's like we have a plan. There's plenty of stuff to muck around with and try and get working. I mean, just getting Live Opus into the build is going to be exciting and messy. So we'll have lots of stories about that, I'm sure. So very optimistically, maybe this week, but honestly, at least my availability will not be great this week. So we'll keep plowing away at it, and yeah, very exciting. So yeah, there's at least two big prongs here. Matthew's work on the demodulator and the modulator for minimum shift keying for the modem itself, and to get that, it's working over the air. We demonstrated this at the Del Mar Manufacturing Electronics Show. Got a lot of really good questions and good feedback, and you can see the video clips on the YouTube channel. So this is not something that's not working, but it could be working better. So Matthew's working on that, and then in the lab we will be working on getting the big pieces together for a path forward for encoding actual audio. So we'll be transitioning from using a PRBS to using frames of some sort. And yeah, since we're limited to USB, there isn't really a microphone jack like there is on the bigger FPGA stations in the lab. So at some point, we might want to look at like, okay, porting to a larger FPGA development board with a, you know, maybe ultra scale chip, or the 706 has a zinc, bigger zinc than the Pluto, but also has a lot of peripherals like audio, video, things like that. So we have lots of paths forward from here, but getting our ducks in a row with the OS support, the embedded Linux support, that's going to happen regardless of which direction we go.
Do you know if the bigger Zincs have a bigger arm, or they all have the same arm?
They do have a larger arm. I think the 706 has is an A9 or 9 series, and then the UltraScale Plus is an A53. So they are substantially, you're going from like a dual core to a quad core, I think, on the A53. Hopefully I have not misspoken there. But yes, there are more capable arms on the larger FPGA stations.
More variations.
Yes, more variations. Good stuff. Okay, any last questions or comments before we close for the day? All right, thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention and care. It's deeply appreciated. We simply could not do these as ambitious things without you, and we'll meet again. Our regular time is this time next week, but if anybody wants to propose a meeting or wants to have a design review of any type, then we're here for that. Just let us know if you'd like to make that happen. All right, until next time, see you soon.